All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome all of you to for joining us tonight on this Expert in the House or Discover ASEA presentation. My name is Bart Kotter. My wife Melissa and I are very proud and excited to be involved with this incredible product, technology, and company. And I'm very excited about sharing with you um, how we discovered ASEA, more about this product and technology, and where from here. Now, if you're looking at this for the first time, look, we've discovered that there's multiple reasons. There's probably about 6 main reasons why people get involved or take a look at ASEA. I just kind of want to run through these because it might just kind of see where you fit in this whole perspective. For one, some people are looking for answers for their own personal health, for health challenges, things that maybe they've haven't been able to find answers for. So if that's you, I promise you're in the right place. A lot of people have found some incredible answers for some challenges they've been dealing with. Now, we all know people that we care about, people that are hurting, people that we love that are dealing with some challenges, possibly even some very serious challenges. Now, if you're here looking on behalf of someone else, again, you're in the right place. Look, the truth is we all know people that we care about and that we love that are dealing with some serious things. And my question for you is, if you knew somebody who was hurting, and if you thought that you had something that could genuinely help them, would you tell them about it? Well, I hope so. I hope the answer is absolutely yes. Because as we go through this presentation tonight, you're going to think of names. You're going to think of, there's different people that are going to pop in your head that you're going to think they need to know about this. So I would encourage you to write it down, take some notes, and when you think of someone's name, quite often what happens is someone's name pops in your head, maybe a little inspiration, and then you think, who was that I thought of? And you can't remember. So if you're like me, that can often happen. So write those names down because maybe a little inspiration might come your way. Also, do you know anybody who'd like to look and feel younger? Anybody here interested in looking 23% younger in 28 days? Say aye. I think we all would. The anti-aging benefits of this product is, I guess you could call it the fountain of youth. We'll show you some before and after photos that'll give you some great examples of that. The next one is athletic performance. What would an athlete do to have a competitive edge? Are the athletes that are using this technology are having profound results with their endurance, recovery, mental stamina. So even if you're not an athlete, but you want to get the most out of your day, that's something to really take a look at. If it's just wanting to be able to have more quality time with your kids or your grandkids, be able to have the energy to be able to do that, that's important. Now, I've got this circled because number 5 was one of the most important things for not only myself, but for both my wife and I, and that was to have a proactive approach to health. I remember years ago, a doctor stood up at a presentation and he said, "May you never know what you are preventing." The best way to deal with a health challenge or a health crisis is not to get it in the first place. The cost of dealing with your health, and you know what, health is a cost. If you want to have good health, you have to put the right things in your body, proper nutrition and exercise. You got to pay attention to those things. But the cost of dealing with the consequences of not looking after your health is far greater. And I'm not talking only financial costs either. There's a lot of things. And the next thing is time and money freedom. So because this technology is so profound, it opens the door for a massive opportunity. So my question to you is, if you've got room in your bank account for more, I just want to challenge you to keep an open mind, because this is the kind of technology that that I naturally wanted to tell other people about. In fact, when I realized what this was, I realized that every single person that I care about, that I love, needed to know about what this needed to know about this technology. So, and for doing that, ASEA simply rewards you for word of mouth advertisement. We'll talk about a little bit more about that as we go through here. So I guess the question is, what is your reason? I think that all these reasons are important, but it's kind of interesting to look at what your number 1 reason is, what your number 2 reason is, particularly in these times. We're living in very interesting times. Now, just share with you my story just a little bit, but as I go through this, I'd really like you to pay attention to what your story is. Where are you at in your life right now? The year 2020 has been a very interesting year for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. What does your life look like at the moment? When I first heard about ASEA, life was kind of upside down. I won't go into all the details of what was going on in my life, but I had been involved with a previous company. It happened to be a network marketing company that had lost its way, and I wasn't happy. That company was going down, and so financially we weren't doing bad, but in terms of career, I really wasn't happy. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? The idea of going out and getting a regular job just was not appealing at all. So in terms of career, I wasn't content. Financially, it seemed like that there was more month than there was money. The other thing is I had been dealing with some legal issues for years and years, and that had created a tremendous amount of stress in my life. And when you're dealing with a lot of stress in your life, sometimes you're really not focused on personal growth. In fact, it can take a toll on your health, and that's where I was at. And family life. It just again puts a lot of stress in all these different areas. Fortunately, I had met this beautiful lady, the lady of my dreams, Melissa, who was on the front on the introductory slide, and so we had a great relationship. Thank God for that, as we were dealing through some of these other things. But again, when you're dealing with challenges, sometimes it just feels like you really don't want to socialize with other people, because seems like the only thing that there is to talk about are problems and challenges and so forth. And then, of course, that can affect attitude. So if this was a wheel and you were going to roll this wheel, if we were to connect all those lines together, you can say it'd be a pretty bumpy ride, wouldn't it? It'd be life would not be running very smooth. And that's what life looked like for me. I was dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of challenges, a lot of uncertainty, quite frankly. And I was looking for a change. So where do you score in these areas? Where do you need to find more balance in your life? Because maybe, just maybe, this might be a vehicle that could create more balance for you, whether it's family or health or career, finances, any of those areas. And I'll give you a little snapshot. This is the beginning snapshot, and I'll show you what life looks like afterward. But here's what actually happened. This gentleman right here, Ed Weens is his name. He's the one that called me up, and he said, Bart, he said, I'd like you to come to Salt Lake City and meet some of the founders of this company called ASEA. Now, the truth is I had actually been introduced to ASEA years before, but I just didn't get it. Plus, ASEA wasn't in Australia when I had been told about it before. I just didn't quite get it. I thought ASEA was some sort of fancy water. It just, I didn't understand the technology. But I had lived in Australia for about 4 years at that point in time. And I was offered an opportunity to fly to Salt Lake City to meet the founders, to learn more about this technology. And I remember being in the boardroom. In fact, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. When I went to Salt Lake, there's certain people that you meet in your life. Maybe you look in their eye, you shake their hand, and maybe you can relate with this. Have you ever met someone that you just, when you've met them, you just know that there's something very, very special about that person? Well, I want to tell you that this gentleman right here, his name's Vertus Norton. He's the founder of ASEA. He's one of those men, just a very unique soul. Vertus was the vice president of strategy for Kraft Food before he got involved with ASEA. I'll share a little bit more about that story later as we move through how he came into ASEA and how this all came about, the genesis of ASEA. But I remember when I was sitting in the boardroom of this company and meeting the atomic medical physicist that's pictured right here next to my wife and I just got goosebumps. I remember Vertus, after learning a little bit more about the technology, after Dr. Gary Samuelson spoke, I remember Vertus stood up and he said, if people really understood what we have our hands on, he said, we would be bigger than Apple Computer overnight because this technology is that profound. And I realized, I had goosebumps everywhere. I realized that this was something I needed to shout out to the world and tell other people about as well. And so it was shortly after that meeting that I actually had Dan and Mal Sword, a couple associates of ours, fly to Salt Lake City and learn more about this company and this technology as well. They're pictured down below as well. But I just was completely blown away, and I thought I would just share with you how I was introduced to ASEA, and it truly has made a huge difference in so many ways. But as we get started here, I want to just tell you that ASEA does not claim to cure, treat any disease or medical condition. What this technology does, it empowers the body to do what it's meant to do best, which is to help heal itself. That's how it actually works. I just want to, just a small continuation of that story. When I flew to Salt Lake City, and I showed you the picture of Dan there with me next to Vertus Norton. Dan was one of the first people that I had thought of when I was in that first meeting. And I thought, and you know, when I mentioned the 6 different reasons why people get involved. Well, Dan was someone that popped in my mind. And let me just share with you briefly the story of Dan. This is Dan when he was 24 years old. He was obviously quite fit. He owned a gym. He was a bodybuilder. When he was 44, he came down with some rashes and some health challenges. He went and got it checked out. Come to find out, he had a pretty serious challenge or condition. He spent 2.5 years going through some horrible treatments for that condition, which ended up, causing him to lose all the hair on his body. He said it was treatment that he wouldn't wish on his worst enemy. Now, when I called Danny, I said, Dan, I was so excited. I said, Dan, I think I've found something that can help you. And I encouraged him to come across to Salt Lake City. When this is Dan in October of 2014. I want to just share with you that Dan had been told by the doctors to go ahead and get his affairs in order, that they couldn't do anything more for him, which was very upsetting. Dan does everything. He doesn't do anything halfway. He got in there on every supplement and juice and really had a super clean diet. But despite that, you can see that he was still struggling. He didn't look healthy. Kind of the color of his skin around his eyes, kind of yellow and red. Well, straight away, he noticed results on the product. In fact, literally within a couple days. And this is Dan pictured 1 year later. So you can see made a huge difference. This is a message that he had posted on Facebook a while back, just expressing gratitude. And he's in a place where doctors told him he shouldn't even be alive now, but blood work and everything is just free and clear. So it's very, very exciting to be able to help people make a difference. And now Dan has actually chosen to share this with the world, and he's traveling around the world with his wife Suzanne and making a huge difference. So as we get into what exactly this is, just want to give you a little bit of a background first, but ASEA is being called by the experts as the most significant health science breakthrough of our lifetime, health, athletic performance breakthrough as well. So here's what we're looking at. And as we get into this, I want to just tell you what ASEA is not. ASEA is not a vitamin. It's not a mineral. It's not some sort of antioxidant. It's not some sort of exotic juice or essential oil. ASEA Redox goes beyond nutrition and ingredients. It does what no other product can do, because it contains what no other product out there does contain. So what we're talking about is this is the flagship product. This is ASEA is a redox supplement. It's a cell signaling supplement. Now, here's what this actually does. So this is what it is. Now, in order to explain this, I want to talk about, I want to mention that this product is native to the body. It's the exact same molecules that your body produces, which is how our bodies actually heal. So we're actually made up of about 75 trillion cells. Now I want you to picture this being a cell in your body. And if every cell in your body has about anywhere from 10 to 7,000 mitochondria. Now the mitochondria is, if you're not familiar with that, just think of it as the nuclear power plant of the cell. Okay. It creates energy. It's also known as ATP, or adenosine triphosphate. Now, what that energy does, so think of it this way. Every time you think a thought, every time that you blink your eyes, anytime that you do anything, that's energy that's created from the cell. It's created in the mitochondria of the cell, okay? Now, as that energy is created, it kicks off these little tiny molecules that are called redox signaling molecules. Now, these little molecules, it's kind of interesting, they're fleeting. They literally last about a millionth of a second. They're like little sparks of energy. Now, here's what these molecules do. Now, actually, when science first discovered these molecules, they thought that it was nothing more than a waste product of the cell creating energy. But what they've discovered is that these little molecules detect, protect, repair, and replace damaged cells. So they provide an incredibly important function. In fact, these little molecules are so important that if your body stopped to produce them right now, you would be dead literally within seconds. That's how important they are. So they regulate every major body system and function. So here's the bottom line: if we actually live and we die at the cellular level, okay, and if your cells aren't healthy, then you're not healthy. Now, this little pyramid just shows that our health literally does start with these redox signaling molecules in the cells. Mentioned that we have about 75 trillion cells. Those cells create tissues that create organs, create our systems, which create, of course, you. Now, one of the questions that I had was, if our body produces these molecules naturally, then why on earth would we need to supplement with more of them? Now, that would be a very good question. So there's several reasons for that. The first reason is that as we age, we produce less and less of these redox signaling molecules. In fact, starting around puberty, starting around 12 or so, every decade, our body produces about 10% less of these molecules. So I just turned 57 a while ago. So not just half a year ago, I guess. So I'm producing about 50% of these same molecules that I used to produce when I was younger. So obviously you don't heal as quickly. Now, the other thing is stress, fear, anything that affects the stress of our body. It suppresses our immune system, and it also makes it so that our redox signaling just doesn't work as well. And then, of course, the other thing, which is our environmental situation. Environmental toxins make a big difference on that too. So all of these things affect our health at the cellular level, and it affects the redox signaling deficiencies and imbalances. So, so it's important that we have a whole cellular healing approach to health and wellness. And if we don't have proper cell signaling, then we become sluggish. Our healing becomes slow, doesn't work as well. So here's the thing. So that's how our body produces these molecules, and that's why they're important. So one of the questions that I had was, how does ASEA recreate these same molecules? Well, now I want you to think of this. Our body is mostly made up of what? Salt water. We all know that our body is mostly water. It's actually salt water. Your tears are salty. Your perspiration is salty. Amniotic fluid is salty. If you get injured, what do? They hook you up to a saline solution. So we are mostly made up of salt water. So ASEA actually uses the exact same ingredients that our body uses to create these molecules. In fact, you could think of the cell as like a little bag of salt water. Now, ASEA uses pristine salt water, the same as what's found in healthy cells. And that salt water is broken down into free-floating atoms of sodium chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen. Now, this is a very highly patented process. It takes 3 days, and these atoms are restructured into stabilized redox signaling molecules. And that's where the magic is. It's a 32-step process. Now, Dr. Gary Samuelson, this is the atomic medical physicist who's responsible for doing what science literally for 2 decades declared was impossible, which was to stabilize these molecules. He said, this technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health that we have ever seen. This gentleman should get a Nobel Prize for what he's done. He's absolutely created a miracle. In fact, when I talked with Dr. Samuelson, he shared with me, he said that he didn't really feel like it was him that did it. He felt like he was guided, that he was led, that it was something that was the discovery of how to do this, because it would literally millions of dollars over about 15 years have been spent trying to figure out how to do this. And he's the one that had figured out how to stabilize these molecules. Now, as we get into this, I want to let you know that ASEA is backed up by science. Literally millions and millions of dollars have been put into validating, as well as the research and development. Let me just start off with this company called Bioagiletics. They actually certify, they verify, they validate that every batch of ASEA is in fact redox certified. So this 32-ounce bottle of ASEA would contain trillions, many trillions of these redox signaling molecules. In fact, even just in a drop, you'd have many molecules of these molecules because they're so small. There's also been studies that have been done by Dermatest with a skincare line that they have, which they've been awarded their coveted 5-star seal of approval. So it's completely safe, non-toxic. Stevens and Associates has done some work with the skin research on the products. North Carolina Campus Research has done some remarkable studies with sports performance, for example, and the list goes on and on. I'd like to highlight this study by Turret Laboratories. This is an interesting gene study, actually. They did an 8-week study with redox, and they took this group of people and in over 8 weeks, and they discovered something quite remarkable. Something that it was actually, I think, fascinating is our genes are actually subject to being turned on and turned off, our genetic expression. So if you could even turn on the genetic expression, a couple percent, it'd be a pretty big deal. But this turns on the genetic expression up to 31% in 5 major areas: your immune system, your inflammation response, cardiovascular health, your gut health, your digestive health, and also hormone modulation. These are 5 major areas of your body's health and wellness. Now, let's just take one of these genetic pathways, which is called the EGR1 genetic pathway. And this branches off into other ones like the NFR2 pathway. Let me just go back a slide here. Previous. There we are. So the NFR2 pathway, this is a very important genetic pathway. Also, ovarian infertility genes. It's interesting. We've had quite a few people who have, tried to get pregnant, for example, worked on things like in vitro fertilization. And once they get on this product, strangely enough, they're able to conceive and have babies. So there are a lot of ASEA babies running around out there. Also, insulin signaling, for example. So if you know people with blood sugar issues, this can really make a big difference. But each one of those genetic pathways branch off into other genetic pathways. So one thing that's really quite important too is antioxidants. We've all heard about antioxidants, and we know that it's important to eat our fruits and berries and vegetables. But one thing that is really interesting is glutathione. Now, glutathione is your body's master antioxidant. It's produced in your body, and it's actually far hundreds of times more potent, more important than eating your fruits and berries, the glutathione. And ASEA has been shown to increase up to 800% increase in glutathione efficiency. In fact, lowering oxidized LDL and lowering oxidized DNA as well. So pretty cool stuff. In fact, these results are really nothing short of staggering. So here's the deal. People ask all the time, will this help with this challenge? Will it help with that challenge? And the truth is as long as cells are involved, absolutely, it's going to absolutely help, because we do live and die at the cellular level. So redox signaling molecules, what they do is they help to regulate virtually every major body system and function. So whether we're talking about our gut health, our digestive, our skin health, thyroid issues, heart, any of these systems, the signaling is absolutely going to help and make a difference. Now, something that's fascinating is after ASEA put this, after ASEA developed the product of ASEA, they thought people were taking that liquid, the drink, and they were putting it in spray bottles, spraying it on their skin, putting it on injuries and whatever. They actually realized that they had an application for a skincare line. In fact, by the way, a lot of people will spray ASEA in their eyes, and eyesight was even improving. So really interesting experiences. But ASEA has actually developed a full skincare line. So it started off with this product called Renew 28. Now it's called Renew 28 because healthy skin renews itself every 28 days. And then they've developed this into a full skincare line, which is a serum, a cleanser, and a moisturizer. And by the way, this is the only redox skincare line in the world. By the way, the skincare industry is absolutely massive. A lot of skincare products are really have unhealthy things in them. This has none of those. It's all completely safe, completely non-toxic, and is just a phenomenal product. So the truth is that seeing is believing, and you can see whether it's scars, how they've been reduced, or whether it's the elasticity of the skin, smoothness of the skin. Let me show you a number of examples here that I want to run through fairly quickly here. But all of these, most of these experiences are within 28 days or less. This one is actually 3 weeks. Now, this is a lady named Ray Doon. She was one of the first people that experienced this product. And she took a before photo, and she actually didn't think she was getting that great of results until she took an after photo, put them side by side. And I want you to notice the difference on her neck and even around her cheeks and jawline. It's a huge difference. And the rest of these are in 28 days. So the redness and irritation, the acne challenges that this lady had. Rosie, a friend of mine in New Zealand, she had sores on her face from some medication. Nothing else would help make that go away except for the Renew 28. Made a huge difference. And then, of course, people say, in fact, I was showing this to someone yesterday, and she said, wow, it looks like they've had Botox. And we often will say you can redox instead of Botox. So the effects of aging that can completely reduce that. But I tell you, these products can absolutely be life-changing. This is a friend of ours, Sarah. Sarah had suffered with some very challenging skin issues throughout her youth and also as she was getting older. And her skin is absolutely beautiful. It's absolutely made a huge difference in the quality of her life. This is obviously more than 28 days, but this young man, this is a game changer for him. Just a huge difference between those two. And you can see over time that it wasn't just the challenges with the skin, but even the scarring. So it's not just the redness and irritation, but it's the scarring made a huge difference. I love the story of Rosie. Rosie was 84 years old. It's actually her son, who is a chiropractor, who got her on using these products. And it was, and after 7 weeks, she thought she came into the office and she said, I want to go ahead and cancel my orders. And he said, well, why is that, Mom? And she said, well, it obviously isn't doing anything for me. And he said, well, Mom, we took a before photo, obviously this one. And so they took an after photo, put them side by side, and it's really remarkable. So the moral of this story is to make sure that you take a before photo, you can actually see the difference over time. Some people get results quicker than other people or noticeable results, but the product absolutely works on 100% of the people, 100% of the time. Needless to say, Rosie stayed on the products. Here she is at 87, happy and looking younger than she did when she was 84. So, and as I mentioned, some people get results quicker than other people. Here's a lady who actually was dealing with some pretty serious issues that after 7 months, what a huge difference. And again, can be a game changer. This is a veterinarian friend of ours, and he decided to try an interesting test. He put the products on just half of his face, and I'm sure you can probably guess which half he used the products on. These are his results after 28 days. Looks like he's had a facelift here. Notice the smoothness of the skin. His glasses are even sitting up higher. and then we've got the aging effects on this lady's arms, and the elasticity has really increased. This is after 28 days, by the way, guys. Stretch marks here. The stretch marks that this lady had over time, and even benefiting from cellulite. So huge difference from the dimples, the before and after photos. That can make a difference. Now, Dermatest actually was the one that conducted this study, and they told ASEA, they said, don't expect any big results. Nothing affects this, but ASEA chose to go ahead and do this study, knowing that full well that the results would be public, and the results were quite astounding. This is a friend of ours, Sep, who lives in Queensland, Australia. He had a little issue on his back. Chiropractor actually told him, he said, you better go get that checked out. Finally, he did. Ended up having chunk of skin, he said, is the size of about a mango that was removed from his back. And the doctors actually didn't expect, some of the doctors, nurses didn't expect him to be around. This is because of a challenge that's quite often brought on by the sun. It's a big issue here in Australia. Needless to say, SEP is free and clear, and these products have given him a second chance. So these products can absolutely make a huge difference in the quality of people's lives, and whether it's prevention or anything else, it's just so remarkable to see how things work out. Now, with every breakthrough, we've got a chance to change people's lives, and also it opens the door for a massive opportunity. And just talking about this breakthrough, I'll just share this with you. These three gentlemen in 1998, they're actually the ones that were credited for discovering what these molecules even were. Remember, I mentioned that they last about a millionth of a second. They're like little fleeting sparks. And these gentlemen actually discovered that these molecules weren't just a waste product of the cell creating energy, but literally these molecules were responsible for detecting, protecting, repairing, and replacing damaged cells, that they were the signaling molecules that actually signaled that communication. So a great example of this is, we've all been on our mobile phones, been on an important telephone call and had that signal, a terrible signal where the call is dropping out, where you can't hear the other person. Well, we want to boost that signal. We want to create it so that the cells can communicate properly. Now, if you wanted to do some research on this, we encourage people not to go to Google. Google is a search engine, not a research engine. There's a difference. But PubMed.gov is a research engine. You could type in redox signaling, and what you'll find, and this slide is quite dated, you'll actually find quite a few more, thousands more studies that have been done. This is actually medical research that's been done on redox signaling. And there's over 1,500 medical texts and journals specifically on this. This is literally one of the fastest growing areas of science. It's very exciting to be on the cutting edge. And one thing that's really exciting is to realize that nobody has what we have. This is backed up by literally dozens of patents that, again, no one has what we have. It's a category creator. So if you went out and, went to your local mall or something, and you just took a survey, hey, have you ever heard of a company called ASEA, or have you ever heard of redox signaling? No one would have a clue, or very few people. That's what creates this massive opportunity, is to let the world know about this. And you have the opportunity to be at the forefront of that. So let me explain something here, pretty important. We happen to be involved with three separate trillion-dollar industries. The first one is health and wellness, and you can see, from some of the things that we've already talked about, people that are dealing with some challenges, we can provide answers and empowering the body to do what it's meant to do with this signaling supplement. Also, we didn't really get into this too much yet, but sports performance, athletic performance. Look, we've got people setting world records like Eddie Hall. We've got Bria Larson, who's a gold medal athlete. Cody Miller won 2 medals in the last Olympics. This is Cody Miller here. So what we're talking about is endurance, recovery, mental stamina. It's giving them that competitive edge that every athlete is looking for. Athletes like Sean Burke, who thought that he was going to have to stop competing because he couldn't recover. He couldn't train hard enough, couldn't recover quick enough to train at the level he needed to. Consequently, after being on a sea, he's out setting world records, or setting records, winning just incredible triathlon after triathlon. And then the skincare industry. This is a trillion-dollar industry. It's 20 times larger than the vitamin industry, just to give you an idea. So the skincare line is pretty amazing. So ASEA is the global leader in the cellular health industry. And of course, as I mentioned, this is a category creating product and company. And so we are positioned in a very unique place. Now, I'd like to just briefly share with you the story of the genesis of ASEA. What actually happened was the founders of this company, Vertus and Tyler Norton, they took a test pilot group of people on this product. And they said, they said, look, we're going to, they took 40 people and they said, you can have as much of this product as you want. By the way, 6 of this initial group were terminal. They were in a state of health, like my friend Danny in the slide I showed you in the beginning. They'd been told that the doctors really couldn't do anything more for them. And they said, look, you can have free access to this product. You can have as much as you want. They came back 2 months later and discovered that this group of 40 people had turned into 135 people in literally in 20 different countries, so that they knew that this was a product that would be shared, quite well via word of mouth. Now, originally the founders of this company, in fact, I mentioned these names before, Vertus and Tyler Norton. Vertus is actually the main founder of this company. He was invited to be on the board of a biotech company that was working on this technology from a little town, believe it or not, where I grew up in Logan, Utah. And Vertus ended up acquiring this technology. In fact, the reason that he acquired the technology was because that company, they were trying to get a drug application. You can't get a drug application unless you can prove something called LD50, which is lethal dose 50, where 50% of the laboratory animals will die at some particular dose. Isn't that funny? You can't get a drug application unless your product is toxic enough at some level that it can kill you. Well, that's the truth of our pharmaceutical industry. Well, Vertus had done his research. He ended up acquiring this technology. He perfected this technology with the help of Dr. Gary Samuelson. And his original thought was that he would develop it and perfect it, and he would flip it, and he would go ahead and sell it. In fact, he met with a company called Bart Pharmaceutical, who's now merged with another company. But they met. They flew into Salt Lake City in their jet with their scientists and their executives. They looked over all the research and they said, Vertus, you've got something very special. We're going to make you an offer that's so big you won't want to go anywhere else. But there's one condition. And he said, well, what's that? And he said, you're going to have to shut it down. He said, I don't understand what you mean. He said, we've got people that are dependent on this product. And their attitude was let them die. People deal with their problems all sorts of different ways. Just let them go. Well, it's truly because of this gentleman's integrity and his son, Tyler, who is also a co-founder, that they decided that people were more important. And they truly do put people principles and purpose above ego and economic or short-term economic gains. So even though, despite the fact that he was offered a massive offer, there was a real concern that this technology could get shelved. And Vertus wanted to make sure that this was going to get out to humanity. And that's why they chose to market this via word of mouth. And that's on that day, they actually made the decision to start ASEA. So how ASEA works is pretty simple. Every one of us participate in word of mouth marketing. In fact, if you talk with anybody, in fact, if I go back another lifetime ago, I was involved with as a business representative for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and I talked with thousands of business owners. If you talk with business owners and you say, what is your best form of marketing or advertising? Pretty much every time people say word of mouth. So people telling people who tell people, particularly when you got a product like this that changes people's lives. And by the way, if you looked at a bottle of ASEA on the store shelf and you picked it up and you saw the ingredients were made from salt and water, it wouldn't even make any sense. It really requires more of a story and explanation with it. But here's the thing, instead of paying millions of dollars in radio and television and newspaper advertising, ASEA literally pays that word of mouth advertising for just sharing it with other people. And so they pay us for that word of mouth advertising. Now, the other thing that was important to me was to know about the timing. Let me just tell you, we are sitting on a very unique time and place. Now, when ASEA first started out, no one had a clue about redox signaling. Remember, it was a new technology, virtually a category creator. So for the first 8 years or so, 8 or 9 years, ASEA laid the foundation with the research and the education and letting people know. But absolutely every single year, they had year-on-year growth. And where we're sitting right now is at a very, very unique place. ASEA is positioned right now for exponential growth. In fact, we expect ASEA to be $1 billion a year company in the next 5 to 7 years. So So the timing could not be better. We're in a place called momentum, a momentum phase in our business. Now, I just want to tell you that there is absolutely an income level to match whatever ambition level that you might have. ASEA is not a get rich quick thing. It's like anything that takes time and effort. Um, it takes, like any kind of business, does take some time and effort to become successful. But you can earn profits straight away by just making some referrals and introducing this to people. And then over time, as you develop a team or help other people to share it with people, the rewards can be quite significant over time. This is absolutely very exciting to be able to make a living while making a difference. The friends, the relationships that we've made are just fantastic all around the planet. It can literally give you an opportunity to live your dreams. And what I mean by that is most people, there's a lot of people who are very successful, but they don't have any time. They don't have any time to enjoy it. One of the things that I absolutely love, one of the things I love about this business model is it can create a residual income that creates the freedom to actually have an income while you can actually enjoy doing some other things. So that's pretty cool. Melissa and I have just enjoyed, and yes, she does ride a Harley. She's pretty good rider. We've been able to go snowmobiling and take trips to Thailand and climb mountains in Tasmania, go skiing, do things that are just really exciting to be able to do some of those things with teammates of ours as well. So I guess the question would be, where do you see yourself at this point in time? It's quite obvious that everybody who wants more out of life, would like to have a higher level of health, needs to be on these products, something that we would absolutely never be without. So maybe you see yourself as a customer, and you know what, that's fine. Hopefully you see the benefit of sharing this with some other people. And even if you're only looking at maybe sharing this with a few people, ASEA can create an excellent, part-time income. And for so many people, an extra $500 to $1,000 a month can be an absolute game changer. It can take the stress off your budget. In fact, I've seen the statistics of an extra $500 in a family's budget could make such a huge difference. I mean, so many divorces, for example, are because of financial stress, and that can take that pressure off. And perhaps you see yourself with an entrepreneurial or a lifestyle income. This is actually what we were looking for. We wanted somewhere where we could make a difference and we could live our dreams. And by applying ourselves and to create this and treat it like a business, getting this technology out to the world where we could make a true difference. So wherever you see yourself, we would invite you to jump in and become a part of it. I started off this presentation by sharing a little bit about my story, or our story, where we were at when we started ASEA. And yes, we were dealing with a lot of stress in our life, and we had a lot of challenges. But I can tell you, ASEA is a 10 out of 10. Could not be more excited about. And here's the thing: you could have the very best product in the world, and quite frankly, I believe that we do. But unless you've got a combination of some other really important ingredients, you've got nothing. And what I mean by that is the integrity, who you're actually partnering with, the stability of the company. ASEA is rock solid. They're stable. They're here for the long haul, something that you can put your faith and belief in. And the third thing is timing. We are positioned for remarkable timing in place. And we are partnered with a group of people that our goal is to help you to reach your goals and dreams. So in terms of career, it could not be better financially. The only reason that's not a 10 is because there's always room for improvement. There's always room for growth. And so, ASEA has created, we pinch ourselves every day. We just can't believe the freedom that this has created. The personal growth has been amazing, because that's one thing we focus on in our business. You're either growing or you're dying. And it's great to be able to just focus on personal growth and become more, because that's really what happens. Personal health is pretty good. Maybe room for improvement. Relationships, great. Social life. That's probably the number one thing that I love about ASEA more than anything else, is the relationships and the friendships that we've made. The kind of people that are attracted to ASEA are people who are self-motivated, they're ambitious, they genuinely love helping other people, and they want more out of life. And so if that describes you, I'd say the social life, the people are just absolutely the best. And attitude, again, there's maybe a little room for improvement with some of these areas, but Very exciting. Now, this wheel compared to the wheel I showed you at the beginning is quite different. This wheel runs a whole lot more smoothly, and certainly we have our challenges from time to time, but life is much better than when we started. So my challenge to you is to experience your breakthrough, to get on these products, get with the person who invited you to this presentation today, and go ahead and get started. I'll just share with you a quote from Vertus Norton. He said a little while back at a conference, he said, "We are at the start of something big with great purpose. And right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future. We can change the world." And this is truly an opportunity for you to change the world as well, make a difference, certainly in your own life, but in the life of so many other people. It's a very exciting opportunity and wonderful group that we have a chance to be a part of. So I'd like to thank you for joining us. And I look forward to seeing you down the ASEA Highway. All the best, and bye for now.